Summer Games Fest. How about that Requiem? Resident Evil 9. Re-9quiem.
So
Renquiem.
I want to give a massive shout out to Capcom for punking our asses the hardest they've ever been punked by making an announcement of, hey guys, the Resident Evil games are on sale. And then later on being like, hey, we really want to talk to you about the new Resident Evil game, but you're just going to have to wait. And then showing a goddamn trailer for the game like 20 minutes later after you've so like for a huge proportion of that trailer, I was like, what is this? Whereas usually I would peg the Resident Evil, the RE engine models within like a second.
Yeah, there were no secret Umbrella logos on any files. Nothing on the newspaper or the TV or the screen or whatever gave it away. And I'm still like, yeah, I would have preferred if they took my title idea, you know.
Yeah.
Resident Evil SIX, and then the IX is highlighted. Resident Evil 6. 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, so nuked Raccoon City and post outbreak.
Well, post everything. So Resident Evil tends to take place in year of release, give or take 1 year. So canonically, the Arclay Mountain incident happened in 1996, and the Raccoon City incident took place in September of 98. And this game is taking place in like I think it's 2026.
Okay, so
it's been like 30 fucking years.
Yeah, and you see the crater, you know, you see the clear dust area, and then the city around it. Yeah, and I so like it's interesting because it seems like, as someone who's like, you know, again, I haven't played all of them. This felt like it was less about sort of let's set up a setting or let's set up a threat that's going to be something new, that's a different type of horror per se, and this just seemed to be like all continuity, all narrative, going back into this world. Am I reading that correctly?
As a massive mark for this series' terrible story, there's a couple threads that are combining here that like now makes sense in hindsight, right? So the first thing is they say, oh, Grace Ashcroft, and as soon as they said Ashcroft, I'm like, oh, this is Resident Evil, because Alyssa Ashcroft is the blonde reporter in the red suit that is one of the characters in Resident Evil Outbreak and File 2.
Okay.
Who then escapes Raccoon City and writes a series of articles on disappearances in the Louisiana Bayou that you can read about in Resident Evil 7. Which is weird because they say that Grace's mom died in the hotel. The hotel they describe is the 3rd level of Outbreak, the hotel that's on fire.
Oh, okay.
So it's possible that her mom went back there for whatever reason.
So far you're answering my question with deep lore.
Yeah. At the end of Resident Evil, I'm not sure if it's Outbreak or File 2. But at the end of one of them, you fight the T Thanatos on a highway, and that's the highway they show at the beginning of the trailer. So that would be the end of Outbreak. And at the end of one of them, they imply that there are still like signs of life within Raccoon City. And that's why in later games and in subsequent novelizations, it's been established that the Marine Corps and the United States Special Forces have a cordon around the entirety of Raccoon City, because every now and then a zombie or like a dog wanders out of the wreckage and they shoot them.
Okay.
Because fuck that, right? So something
build
still
a fucking wall rose
there
around that shit, obviously.
And on top of that, one of the design ideas that was supposed to be available in Resident Evil 1.5 but never happened was the end of that game was supposed to be you taking the tram from the lab in Resident Evil 2 to escape, and it would bring you into the mountains and drop you off at the lab from RE1 that had been exploded and burned down. And then the final part of that game would be you exploring Resident Evil 1 post-destruction. So that seems to be the core idea of what we're doing here is we're going to be exploring the
Okay.
areas from 1, 2, and 3
Okay.
post destruction, but
Yeah.
stuff will still be alive. The monster at the end of the trailer is probably Lisa Trevor from Remake, who is still alive because she's unkillable.
Hmm.
It's and I have a feeling it's going to be an open world game. I have a feeling it is going to be a free form, like explore the city at your leisure kind of game.
Very interesting, very strange. Because yeah, I guess what I feel like I saw was like 6 was a big, everybody together, like send off celebration every
see, that's
moment,
the mistake they made.
right?
Resident Evil isn't about the characters; it's about the location, and it's about Raccoon City.
And then 7 was just like, yo, who knows? Who knows what's going on? Doesn't matter. New threat. It's a bunch of creepy old farmer, scary house things going on, and then by the way, here's some folks, some shit's going down that connects back to the things you already knew.
And then Village was like werewolves,
right? And then yeah, like here's a new villain. Here's a lady, and she's big and woo, and new setting, new horror, whatever. And then yeah, I guess there's some stuff that connects back to the stuff, but we're showing you a new thing. And then this time around, it's just like no, this is just like wrapping up lore and doing connected bits.
So one of the reasons that I think that RE9 is going to be very like greatest hits and include elements of Resident Evil 1.5 is because when you play through Village and you have been a massive freak and dug through every piece of information about all these games as you can, you get a really strong suspicion that Resident Evil Village is based off of Resident Evil 4's Hookman version. There is a lot in Village that just screams these were the ideas behind Hookman. And I look at RE9 and I go, oh, these could be the ideas behind 1.5.
So do you think
before it got rebooted?
Do you think that this is a Metal Gear Solid 4 for the Resident Evil franchise? By like, if you're talking about revisiting all these locations after, so many years.
I think we're going to see
in an open world
I think
setting.
It's going to be an excuse to revisit like nearly every single major location that's ever been in all of the first 3 games.
And so yeah, and everything you're talking about and everything we're seeing it's just like all lore connecting, right? So I'm kind of wondering, like, what is it just like this is for those who are all the way in? Well,
also, if you want to have a gigantic wide open, so this is my assumption, if you want to have a gigantic wide open explorable space, Raccoon City is like the fucking
prime
spot because people know Raccoon City. Everybody knows some part of Raccoon City just by osmosis.
Are we gonna find a reason to hop on a boat and head over to Africa or hit South America up or Europe rather? I mean,
no, I don't think so, Willie.
No, we're not going to travel. Okay, well,
no, I don't think so.
That's a cool premise. That's a cool idea, certainly. But yeah, I guess that's the only thing is I'm like, oh wow, yeah, this appears to just be like piecing together, bits and pieces of lore and there was no like, hey, new theme, new genre of like, a horror or new type of like quirky villain threat, So.
So quirky, there is a quirky villain threat. Grace Ashford did not fall asleep and wake up upside down with bullshit biohazard shit plugged into her in a spooky mansion by accident. No, it's probably all right. Okay, fuck it. The villain of this game is probably going to be Wesker. No, not that one. The other one. Because we're dealing with a blonde woman that she's probably going to want to try and steal her body. Don't worry about it. And I bet you that at the halfway mark of this game, you will lose control of her and you will gain control of a recurring Resident Evil character who will come in
to save the
day. It has to be somebody who went to Raccoon City So it's going to be Claire or Leon, but Claire already did that in Revelation, so it'd probably be Leon. And that would be like in Code Veronica X.
Does the odd number, even number, like red field thing matter anymore? No, it doesn't.
Nah,
okay.
it never did. Okay. No, what matters is Leon is more important.
Oh, yeah? Yeah?
Leon is more popular.
Leon over Chris?
Leon is Leon. Okay. Leon is the popular one.
RE2.
Mm-hmm. RE2, RE4.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's the man.
Damn, that's I can see it because those are the most popular games for sure.
I think that is way less of a Hail Mary than like me saying that Alex Wesker is going to be the villain. There's my shot.
It is just kind of funny because like those reasons for Leon being like over is just because of like, well, the quality of the games he's in, and then like
he's in the 3 best games in the fucking franchise.
But the guy who's there from the beginning that has the seniority, it's like seniority is not enough to, Well,
one of the other things is that like Chris has looked like a completely different person in every single game he has ever appeared in, which is fucking weird. And also, Chris was a main character in Resident Evil 8. So it'd be unlikely for him to go back to back.
He's also hanging out in Guile stage, no matter what the game says. That's him.
No matter what it says.
That's him.
It absolutely is extremely possible that Guile and Chris like know each other and hung out.
That it's too deliberate. There's no way they didn't fucking make that to be Chris, and then at the last second.
Well, Chris is a fucking Air Force pilot, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah, so there's a dude that looks exactly like him standing there, and then they cowered it out and said, when you go on World Tour, no, you're not actually talking to Chris. And it's like, shut up. Fuck off. You know what it is. You know what you wanted everyone to think. Yeah.
Pardon me.